All right, so get ready to peek behind the curtain with us today because we're diving deep into the world of a head of workshop. You've sent over some interesting stuff from RoleCatcher. Their career guide is super detailed. Looks like you're seriously thinking about maybe taking this career path.
Yeah, and that's smart.
Mm.
Doing your research is key. It seems like you're really drawn to the magic behind the scenes,
Yeah.
but also want to understand the nuts and bolts of what makes a production actually work.
For sure. So let's break it down. When you hear like head of workshops, you might picture like someone who's just amazing with a hammer and nails, right? Like super handy.
Right.
But it sounds like it's way more than that.
Oh, yeah. It's way more than just knowing how to use tools. Think of it like, imagine you're a conductor, right? But instead of leading an orchestra, you're leading this team of really skilled craftspeople. You take a designer's vision, those initial sparks of imagination, and then you turn them into actual tangible things. Sets, props, costumes, everything that the audience sees up on that stage.
So you're making magic happen. What would you say is like the most interesting aspect of this role then, from your perspective?
It's got to be that unique blend of creativity and practicality. As a head of workshop, you need that artistic eye to get the designer's vision, but you also need the technical know-how to make it a reality. So you're bridging that gap between someone's imagination and then the physical world.
It's like being a creative engineer, but let's be real, it can't all be glitter and spotlights, right?
Right.
What are some of the not so glamorous parts that someone going into this career should be ready for?
Well, as RoleCatcher puts it, it's a really demanding job. Long hours, tight deadlines, and the environment's just buzzing, especially as you get closer and closer to opening night. Think high pressure,
Yeah.
potentially really loud, maybe even dust, fumes, depending on what you're actually building.
Okay, so you need the stamina of a stagehand and the organizational skills of, I don't know, a head honcho. What kind of background or training usually leads someone to become a head of workshop? Do you need a fancy degree in both fine arts and like carpentry?
It's interesting, actually. While a really strong foundation in fine arts is super valuable, and actually, RoleCatcher's analysis found that like 94% of head of workshop professionals do have a background in it. Hands-on experience is just as important.
So it's one thing to like understand design, but you also need to know how to build a set piece that's not going to fall apart during a performance, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that practical experience, it often comes from starting in those entry-level positions, like being a workshop assistant. So you start by assisting with basic construction, you're moving materials, you're learning from the more experienced technicians. Imagine yourself learning the ropes from the ground up.
That makes sense. It's like any other craft, you need to master the basics before you can lead the band.
Exactly. From there, you could maybe become a workshop technician, and there you'd be more involved in the construction, assembly of the sets, working directly from the design plans. RoleCatcher highlights this as being all about, precision, craftsmanship, making sure each piece meets those exact specifications.
That attention to detail must be super important, especially when you're trying to create someone else's artistic vision.
For sure. And as you get more experience and you prove what you can do, you could then move into like a supervisory role. So maybe a workshop supervisor. And now you're not just building, but you're managing a whole team of other technicians. You're overseeing the workflow, making sure those deadlines are met, and that everything's running smoothly.
So you're gradually stepping into those leadership roles even before you get to head of workshop. So it's not just about those technical skills, but also those people skills.
Exactly. And all of it culminates in that top spot, the head of workshop. You've climbed the ladder, you've got the experience, you've got those leadership skills, and the creative vision to actually lead that entire workshop team. It's definitely a demanding role, but it can be so rewarding.
Okay, so let's say you've put in the work, you've learned what you need to know, and now you're ready for that head of workshop title. What's a typical day look like for you? Paint us a picture.
All right, so picture this. You walk into the workshop, and it's just buzzing with activity, right?
Yeah.
You've got your team. They're busy bringing the set designer's vision to life.
Okay.
You're overseeing everything from, like, these huge backdrops
Okay.
to tiny little intricate props.
Wow.
And you're making sure that every single piece not only looks exactly how the designer imagined it, but that it also actually works, under the stage lights.
Yeah, it's got to function. It's not just about looking pretty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're also managing budgets. You're thinking about resources. You're keeping everyone on schedule.
Oh, yeah, because there are always those deadlines.
Always.
Yeah.
And you got to be ready for those last minute changes. Something always comes up, right?
So you need to think on your feet and be ready to adjust. It's a lot to juggle. But let's talk about the good stuff for a sec. Like, imagine opening night, right?
Yeah.
Lights go down, the curtain goes up, and there it is, this amazing set that you helped create.
There's nothing like it. That feeling of seeing your work and your team's work come to life on stage, it's amazing. You're part of the performance even if the audience doesn't see you.
You're part of the magic. But what happens after the curtain closes? What does a head of workshop do when the show's over?
Great question. So, RoleCatcher really stressed the importance of striking the set. So you have to carefully take it all apart, keep track of everything, store it properly, in case you need it again for another production.
So it's like the ultimate upcycling project, giving all these sets and props a second life.
Exactly. And speaking of Second Life, RoleCatcher also talked about how technology is changing things in the world of stagecraft. Like, there are all these new materials, software, even equipment that are changing how sets are designed, built, and even controlled during a show.
Yeah, that makes sense. We are living in the future. What's an example of that? How has technology changed things for a head of workshop?
Well, take CAD, for example, computer-aided design software.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about turning a designer's ideas into something real, right?
Yeah.
Well, CAD lets you build incredibly detailed 3D models of the set before you even pick up a hammer. So you can try out different designs, different materials, even see how the set will look under the stage lights.
All virtually.
All virtually, yeah.
That's amazing. It's like a superpower for designers and builders to see what works before they actually build it.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just design. Automation is another big thing RoleCatcher highlighted. You can actually program these big set pieces to move around on stage or create amazing effects with lighting and projections, all controlled by a computer.
It sounds like the possibilities are endless, but with all this new technology, a head of workshop has to be ready to learn and adapt all the time, right?
You got it. RoleCatcher even broke down the most important skills and knowledge you need for this role.
Okay, so what are they? What are those secret ingredients for success?
Well, not surprisingly, fine arts came out on top. A full 94% of head of workshop professionals have a background in it.
That makes sense. You need to understand design and visual storytelling.
Exactly. But right behind that, with 82%, is design, which shows just how crucial that mix of creativity and technical know-how is.
You need to be an artist and an engineer.
Exactly. And in third place, with 67%, is computers and electronics. That tells you how important technology is these days.
It's not all about hammers and nails anymore. You got to be tech savvy.
Exactly. And to help people understand all of this, RoleCatcher included these really cool profiles of people at different stages in their careers.
Oh, that's interesting. Let's hear about those. Let's start with entry level. What's it like to be a workshop assistant?
So imagine this. You're fresh out of school, maybe you did a theater tech program, or maybe you just discovered this passion working on your high school's stage crew. You're eager to learn, you love the theater, and you're ready to get your hands dirty.
They're like sponges, soaking up everything they can.
That's it. RoleCatcher described this stage as learning the ropes, really mastering those basic skills, assisting with basic construction, learning how to use and maintain equipment, maybe even helping to find materials for the sets.
Okay, makes sense. So what comes after that?
Well, as you get more experience and show what you can do, you might move up to workshop technician. This is where you really need those precision and craftsmanship skills.
So they're doing more hands-on work on the sets themselves?
Yeah. RoleCatcher actually profiled a workshop technician who really loves bringing designs to life. They understand all the different ways to build things, they have a great eye for detail, and they're great at figuring out how to fix problems that come up.
They're like the surgeons of the workshop.
Exactly. And once they start to show some leadership potential, they might get promoted to workshop supervisor. Now it's not just about building, they're leading a team.
Okay, so now those people skills are even more important.
Absolutely. The workshop supervisor that RoleCatcher talked about was really good at efficiency and streamlining processes. They know how to delegate tasks, motivate their team, and keep the whole workshop running smoothly.
Making sure everything gets done on time and the show goes on.
You got it. And then finally, once you've mastered your craft and proven yourself as a leader, you reach the top, head of workshop.
The big boss. What did RoleCatcher have to say about that stage of the career?
It was clear that this is a job that needs a lot of different skills. Their head of workshop wasn't just a master builder, but also a great leader. They could work well with designers and the whole production team. They knew how to manage money and resources, and they could inspire their team to do their best work, even when things were stressful.
So they need to be good at everything, basically.
Pretty much. They're the heart and soul of the workshop. They set the tone, they help their team grow, and in the end, they're a huge part of creating this amazing experience for the audience.
It really is a passion project as much as it is a job. It sounds like it takes a lot to become a head of workshop. You're not just, building things. You're building a whole career.
That's a great way to put it.
And speaking of building a career, I feel like we got to talk more about RoleCatcher itself. Because it's one thing to be like, oh, yeah, head of workshop, that sounds cool. But they give you these tools to actually figure out how to get there.
Right, right, they do.
It's like they're handing you a toolbox and saying, all right, go build your dream career.
Exactly, and they've got stuff for everything, like how to write a really good CV, how to answer those tough interview questions. Remember, we talked about those applicant tracking systems?
Oh, yeah, those things are kind of scary.
Right. Well, RoleCatcher, they have this AI tool that analyzes job descriptions, and it tells you how to optimize your application so that it actually gets seen by a real person.
Wow, that's so smart.
Yeah, so it's not just about getting past the robots. They also have this huge database of interview questions
Oh, wow.
and like expert advice on how to answer them.
So you can go in prepared.
Exactly.
That would be so helpful. Interviews are always a little nerve-wracking.
Right, and they even have this thing where you can record yourself answering practice questions, and then it'll give you feedback on how you did.
Oh, that's cool. So it's like having your own personal coach.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this and they're thinking, head of workshop, that's for me. What are the big takeaways here? What do they need to know?
I think the most important thing is to know what you're getting into. It's a lot of work, long hours sometimes. You got to be able to handle the pressure. But it's also incredibly rewarding if you love the theater, you like solving problems, and you enjoy being creative with other people.
Be passionate about it.
Yeah, definitely. And don't underestimate the importance of experience.
Right.
It's one thing to study theater in school, but there's no substitute for actually doing it.
Learning by doing.
Exactly. Start as an assistant, work your way up. That's how you really learn the ropes.
So it's like a journey, right? You start as a workshop assistant, you learn those basic skills, then maybe you become a technician. You're really honing your craft. And then once you've got those leadership skills, you can become a supervisor, you're leading a team, you're managing projects, and then finally you reach the top. You're the head of workshop. You're the one making all the decisions.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see people go through that journey,
It is.
They start with that passion, and they just keep learning and growing.
And who knows, maybe those skills you develop as a head of workshop, they could help you in other parts of your life too.
Oh, for sure. Problem solving, working with a team, being creative, those are valuable skills no matter what you do.
Exactly. So big thanks to RoleCatcher for these amazing resources and insights. And to everyone listening, thanks for coming along on this backstage adventure with us.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Remember, the world is your stage, so go out there and make something amazing happen.